Welcome to Moto Academy Members Podcast Episode 3, where we dive deeper into the world of motocross and the life of the Moto Academy community. This time I'm hosting this podcast. I'm Christian Geloof, and in this episode I have a fascinating discussion with the real GP. As the conversation went on for more than an hour, I decided to cut the episode in parts of about half an hour. Whether you are a TMA member or just curious about motocross, this podcast could be for you. Sit back, relax, and join us in this journey as we learn more about the life of each of the members. If you like the podcast, please give the thumbs up. Let's get started. This is part 2 of episode 3. Gentle people, welcome to episode number 3. I have a special guest today. And the special guest, let me click that. That is Greg Page, or better known as the real GP. I think you covered this one as well a little bit, but let's go over it one more time. So there's family that also rides for you?
Yes, my younger brother, the big BP, in the Moto Academy app, he rides. He actually, it's really all his fault that we're here talking.
Really?
Yeah, he at some point during my growing up, I kind of resigned myself to the fact that, my parents aren't going to let me get a motocross bike. And so I kind of put that in my mind a bit. Yeah. And I was away from home for a couple of years and I came back and he was at this point, like in his late teens. And I walked into our bedroom that we shared and the walls were plastered with Jeremy McGrath, Jeff Emig, Kevin Windham. He would buy Motocross Action and just cut out every full page picture. And there was no space on our walls left. And then let's see, he would have been 17 and I would have been 21. And I wrecked my knee snowboarding. Snowboarding was my thing in late teens, early 20s. Okay. And I wrecked my knee. And so I couldn't do anything for about 3 months. And we had this PlayStation 2, and he had a game called Supercross Circuit. And it had all of the Supercross tracks from the year 2000, plus all the national tracks. So it had like Glen Helen and Broome Tioga and Unadilla from all the AMA Pro Nationals. And so I just sat around resting my knee and racing motocross on the PlayStation for the rest of the winter doing this. And and during that time, I decided that, as soon as my knee's good, I'm going to get on a bike and I'm going to ride. And it just was an obsession from that point on. And it's all the big PP's fault. He's guilty. And
wow, I guess he doesn't mind. Huh?
No, not at all. And it's been a wonderful thing because it's been a really strong bond for us. I'm closer with him than any of my other siblings, and I can attribute a lot of that to the fact that we both love to ride.
Yeah, that I think that is. To be honest, I'm also a little bit rubbed off from my older brother in my case, up to me, because it was mainly my older brother that was into the. It first started with bikes, I would say. And then, since we were not allowed to buy a motor or something, for us it was a moped or something. Mm-hmm. And we had a huge, it's called field with bumps and stuff like that nobody cared about so much at that time, at least. And then my oldest brother started driving his moped as fast as possible, and then there were these guys already with the motocross over there as well. So I was the small guy, so to say, looking at that, and that's a little bit how that goes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that really is. Hey, next question: is there a big crash for you somewhere?
I've been very, very fortunate to. As far as injuries go, very minor.
Not good.
So, but I have had a couple good crashes. The most recent one, and arguably the most painful one, was when we had a Moto Academy Arizona Ride Day in class back in December of last year.
Yeah.
We were at class. It was Friday morning, and we went out for our warm-up ride, and I got a little overconfident because I was super excited because we had all the Moto Academy guys there, and it was like the best day ever. And I tried jumping a double, and I tried a little too hard, and whiskey throttled the bike, and it launched, and I yard sailed off it and landed on my back. And
Oh,
what are we, mid March now, and I'm still a little bit sore back there. Some days I can still feel it, but
yeah, yeah.
and I got that. I had never had the bruising that goes all the way up your leg and up your back, and I figured that that was just my rite of passage, that I got that bruising this time, and so now I take it a lot more easy, especially on that jump, and
Okay.
not trying to get that double anytime soon. So
Okay. Yeah. Doubles are a little bit scary always. So
yeah.
this question is then for me answered. So did a crash made you consider quitting ever? So that's not the case, I guess. Then.
Yeah, fortunately, that's not the case. I've had back when I got my YZ450,
Yeah.
I did a really stupid thing, and I entered an arena cross race 3 days after I bought the bike.
Oh, that's
And
not
I
smart.
was completely out of shape, and didn't even know the bike yet, and I ended up stalling the bike over a jump. And when I went to kickstart it, another guy rode by me and brushed me, and it pushed my leg onto the foot peg and ripped my leg wide open. It took about 300 stitches to close it,
Wow.
and that's probably the closest I ever got to thinking, why am I doing this? But I was back on the bike before I could walk, so it didn't really deter me too much. And I've got a really sweet scar for it. So,
The more
but yeah,
scar, eh?
and knock on wood, we're trying to avoid those kind of crashes. So
Exactly.
I can't really afford to, because of our situation with Ryder, I can't really afford to not be able to. I can't afford an injury that would keep me from assisting him with his daily activities. So
Exactly.
I tend to ride fairly conservatively and try to avoid those kind of crashes.
Yeah, good, I would say. Yeah, I think that's good. That's for everybody good. So you were telling you did drive different types of tracks, so more sandy tracks and now probably more hard pack, I guess.
Yeah, we ride. Our dirt here in Arizona is very hard. It's kind of funny. We had AJ out here for a class a couple weeks ago, and Austin Bott and I were participating in the class,
Hmm.
and when it gets blue groove hard, that's where I'm kind of most comfortable riding. And it was funny because AJ and some of the people who were there who have less experience riding Arizona dirt
Yeah.
really didn't like the blue groove, but that's when I felt most comfortable on the track. It's
You say
that.
blue
So
groove?
yeah, I think it's called blue groove because some of the dirt gets so hard
Yeah.
that it kind of gets this bluish look. I think some of the rubber from the tires wears off on the dirt.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
almost
yeah.
like
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
understand what you say. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I do love riding in the sand. When I lived in Washington State,
Yeah.
we rode sand dunes every week, and it's
Wow.
probably not the kind of sand you guys have over there, which I'd love to come ride and experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I love sand riding. There's just something about the flow of it where you kind of just have to go with the flow that suits me.
Yeah. Now, I've never done dunes myself, and personally, I find it very difficult to have a very sandy track. But
Uh-huh.
last year I did quite some practice on it because I
Uh-huh.
participated classes on a sandy track,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, it turns out that because I looked at some videos for me over time, and then you see you get so much better if you just practice it more. That is how that works always, huh? So
Uh-huh.
if you practice a hard track, yeah, then you can do that better and harder than any other person, I would say. So
When we moved to Arizona, I had to learn how to use my brakes because we rode so much sand in Washington.
yeah,
I mean,
you do
you
not
just
break,
no, you don't. There's no
just
need for the brakes.
let
Yep,
go
exactly.
and that's it. Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, there's no braking going on. Yeah, yeah,
Nope.
indeed, a hard track you need to start braking really.
Yep. And you have to go easy with it because your tires can break loose.
Yeah, you're on the floor.
Yep. You have to be judicious with the throttle and judicious with the brakes on the hard pack.
Yeah, that is completely different indeed. Yeah, that compared to sand, you just open up and close and go again. It's,
Yep. That's pretty much it.
yeah, there's nothing in between, so to say. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think then in the sand is more important that you go to the right gear. That is
Yes.
because you need to keep it in the power band always.
Yes.
And on a hard pack, you could manage maybe, oh, gear too tall, and you go one back. And you
Yep.
can, in the sense, then you're lying.
Yeah. And that was one thing I enjoyed about the sanded riding the two stroke was
Yeah,
that it was really easy to keep it in the power that the optimal point
yeah.
of the RPMs for power, and it made it a lot of fun to ride. It was a very exciting. I don't know that I was fast, but it felt really fast, and that's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. At least it was a lot of sound, huh?
That's right.
I think in Sand that is. I can remember also. I was just a few days ago. I was looking at a video that I recorded, and at the end I also said. So I did a training there. I have no idea how long you drive, but maybe in total you drive 1.5 hours. But I used, yeah, maybe you do not know that, but 10 liters of gasoline, and that's a lot for me because normally
Oh,
if I ride, I do 7.5 or something. So, and that's
right.
because you're riding in the sand because it is spinning, 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 spinning all the time.
I always used to carry a gas can in my backpack because I ran out of gas one
Ah,
time in the middle of sand dunes.
yeah, yeah. And then you're in the middle of nowhere, so you want something. Yeah, I
Yep.
can imagine. Okay, yeah, I never heard about that. Um, so how often do you really ride nowadays? And is
I,
that coupled to a season or?
the nice thing about Arizona is if you can handle the heat in the summer, we have a 12-month riding season.
Oh, wow.
And but with life with kids, I don't get a ton of time to ride.
Hmm.
Uh, I probably ride about 6 to 8 times a year
Six
right
or
now.
eight times a year.
Yep, and the goal is always to try to get it up to closer to 20. If I could get out every other week, I'd love to, but right now it's about every other month I get to go have a good ride day. And and right now we're like I've missed half of our race season, but that's okay. I don't I'm not really married to the fact of or married to the idea of riding or racing all the time, but
No.
I love going out. Like this Friday or this Saturday we're going out to a race, so
Okay.
it'll be fun to get out.
And you will be participating in the race. That's what you mean.
Yep, I'll be participating in the race.
Okay. Because I think I did not have so many questions about that because in my mind you were not doing any races, but you are.
I don't race very often. It's kind of here and there. I'll get into a race, but the goal is to do 3 or 4 races on the motocross track this year, and then to do a couple off-road races with Yeeted and Deleted and needs more practice. Austin
Okay.
Bottom. But
Okay.
yeah,
And off-road, that is more like what somewhat longer tracks or something through desert-like environment, or how is that?
that is correct. They're usually like a 45-minute timed race. Uh,
45. Holy
yeah,
moly.
I've and different race organizations set it up differently. There are some that do 90-minute races, and you just try to complete as many laps as you can before time runs out. And
Yeah, and gas?
yeah, and you have to pit stop for gas, and
Yeah,
and
okay.
they'll go out into the desert and make a loop, and then sometimes it'll incorporate parts of a motocross track, and then next thing you know, you're going up the side of a mountain and trying to not hit a cactus. And yeah, it's, and yeah, it's really
That's
it's a
fun.
lot of fun. It's a little different than going out and doing like a 10 or a 20-minute moto on the track where
Yeah,
you're just
exactly.
you have to pace yourself.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a fun different discipline from just track racing.
Yeah. Okay, I've seen a few of the videos, of course. Indeed, Glenn Helen, that they do also a longer thing, what I understood. Uh,
Yes.
to give you just a comparison, I think in your region or in USA in general, I would say you have much more space than that we have, for instance, in the Netherlands. So uh, something like this, there are off-road type of things organized, but
Uh-huh.
it is, I think, much less than that we have motocross tracks.
Right.
So because, and I think there's maybe one handful of off-road tracks that are always used for off-road, so to say. They are most of the time only organized, and it is also, I think, pretty much somewhere in the season. So somewhere in the beginning and somewhere at the end of the season, because of the crops, because they use then just fields from farmers, so to say.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it's really limited, I think, for off-road guys
Uh-huh.
to to find a real laid out track, so to say, that somebody is laid out. Yeah, that is we do not have the space, so yeah, and people would start complaining if it would be there as well, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we're really spoiled with the amount of open land we have, especially in the western United States. Like
Yeah,
you go hundreds of miles on a bike
yeah,
in any direction
yeah,
for
yeah.
the.
Yeah, I think 2 days ago I was watching a guy. He was talking about a Stark or something, and he was just in the middle of nothing. You see his car, okay? He's standing somewhere and he's filming around. And you see mountains and bumps, and for the rest you see nothing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot find that over here. It doesn't exist. If I look far away, I always see a house.
Uh-huh.
Okay, a little bit continuing with riding. So, how does an average ride day look like? So, if you, let's say, go to the track, how does that work? When do you start your preparation? Is that the day before, the week before? I don't know. And then during the day, which time do you wake up and start getting your stuff together? And
So usually the week of, I'll make sure that my gear bag's all packed.
okay,
I thought I forgot my boots once, and I'll never hear the end of it for the rest of my life. But so I always double check my boots,
yeah,
and those who I'm talking to know who I'm talking to. I always double check that I've got my boots, and I even have two pairs, so just in case. But I'll usually so ride days are usually Saturdays. So by Thursday I'll make sure I've got my gear bags all packed. Uh, I I have checked my maintenance log on my bike to make sure that see how many hours I've got on the transmission oil. Take a
exactly.
look at the air filter, make sure that everything looks good there. Check all the bolts, that sort of thing, and just make sure everything's in good working order by about Thursday night, and then
Exactly.
Friday, I'll, the day before, I'm a bit of an overthinker. Or I have the tendency to overthink, and so Friday night I'll be thinking about things like, okay, do I have enough element packed? Do I have a couple gallons of water? Where do I need to stop to get ice on the way, and that sort of thing, and then usually because of the heat here, we're often up very early, and so
Okay.
get up around 4:30 or 5, load up the bike.
Okay, that early. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, during the summer, the track opens like 5:30 or 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Um,
And
during
then
Oh, go ahead.
when do you leave then the track?
When we're done riding, the track closes at about 11,
Yeah,
and
11 already. Yeah, yeah.
if we're in midsummer like June, July, it's already 110 degrees
Yeah.
by 11 o'clock in the
It's
morning.
too hot to drive, of
Yeah,
course.
so 110, that would be, let me think, probably. Let me do the. I'm trying to math it in my head. So
Yeah, I
10.
have an app here, but yeah, it's 38 degrees is 100 Fahrenheit.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
That
about
is really
right.
hot, yeah.
Yeah,
If it is 38 degrees in the Netherlands, you do nothing because it's too hot.
we go riding,
Yeah,
but we
exactly.
we also have almost no humidity, so you just feel yourself dehydrating in real time.
Yeah,
It's
that is the difference. Over here, we are next to the sea, so the humidity is very high, so you cannot do anything.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That I don't think I could ride in that. But
No, that's
so
impossible.
so this time of year, we're usually out to the track by about 9 o'clock, and so you don't have to
Nine
get up
o'clock.
quite.
No.
I have about a 45-minute drive to Moto Land, to the track that we normally ride at, and so I get up. Oh yeah, I'm covering that right there. So yeah,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
got 45-minute drive to the track. So so this time of year, like on Saturday, we'll be up by 7. We'll be loaded up by 8.
Okay.
Um, we'll be to the track hopefully by 9. Probably have to stop for some fuel and some stuff like that,
Hmm.
and Saturday will be a race day, so we'll be there probably a fair amount of the day. And but typically, ride from this time of year 9 to 1 or 9 to 2, and then pack up the bike, come home, wash all the mud off the bike.
Yeah.
And because our hard dirt, our track does a really good job of tilling and breaking up that hard dirt and then watering,
Mm-hmm.
but it's sticky like
Yeah.
modeling clay. And so
You want to get it off.
yeah, I come home with 10 extra pounds of dirt on the bike sometimes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So it's
wash the bike and put it away, and then
but
I immediately throw my clothes in the laundry, my riding gear. So
yeah, exactly. But is the clay when it is drying up, is it getting like concrete or how is that?
it gets kind of crumbly.
Crumbly. So you can
Yeah,
get it
if
off
you
then.
packed it and let it sit, yeah, it'd get hard. Not as hard as concrete, but pretty darn close. At least that's how it feels. So
Yeah, exactly. Because that for some tracks we have that over here, and I always say you have to get it off because if you do not get it off, it's like there's concrete underneath your and everywhere on your bike, and it's much harder to get it off if you wait too long, so to say.
this is true. This is true. And then
Okay.
our dirt is kind of a red brown, and so if you leave it on too long, it'll stain, especially like white plastics.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Over here we do not have that redness in stuff. It's more like brownish if we're
Uh-huh.
more to the boots, so to say.
Okay.
And yeah, a lot of tracks also just put extra sand on, and then it's either more white, something like that. So it's not really what you would normally find in a normal environment, I would say. By the way, you say 45 minutes, so that is your typical track. But what would be the longest to drive to a track?
We have two tracks in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and the other track for me would be about a 90-minute drive. It's about double the drive.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
okay.
and then we actually have there's another track way south in Arizona, almost to Mexico. That'd be about a 3-hour drive. And then another one of our Moto Academy members up in northern Arizona,
Mhm.
about a 4-hour drive from me, has built the track. And so um, I'm hoping this year to get up there a couple times and ride with him on his track.
But if you have a 4-hour drive, do you
Yep.
not just travel the day before? I mean,
Yeah, that's when the drive's that long. That's definitely something we consider.
yeah.
Is
You
it? Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning. And
Yeah, exactly. It's so early. For me, if I would go a 4 hour, I would not do that in one day, to be honest. And normally I would, indeed, I would not drive longer than let's say 1.5 hour for a track because for me, that is a little bit the Netherlands. Yeah, you cannot maybe grasp how small it is, but it's like your big city.
okay.
That is my whole country, right? And within this small uh, country that I live, we have several tracks. So yeah, we have options.
Uh huh. That's great.
They're not big tracks, but they're different types of tracks. So we can go to a sand track, we can go to a hard track, yeah, stuff like that.
That's
So
great.
yeah, if it's there, then you will not drive so far. That's a little bit also the thing, eh?
Ideally, if I'd have to drive more than 4 hours, I'd probably see if I could get a couple riding days out of it and make kind of an extended weekend or.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, what makes a perfect ride day?
The one thing that makes it, there are probably a couple things, but
Of
the
course.
first thing that comes to mind is having all my favorite people there to ride with. Like
Yeah, that's important,
when
eh?
yes, when we had our Moto Academy Arizona ride day back in December, um, we had almost everybody I'd ever want to ride with there,
Nice.
and it was absolutely fantastic. Um, and then the next best thing that makes it the perfect ride day is nobody getting hurt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yep. And everybody's bikes working the way they should.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have those three things, it's about as perfect as it gets.
No flat tires, huh?
That's right. No flat tires.
Yeah, that is. Oh, you know that? Then you go to a track and then you're driving the first round and then you have a flat tire. And of course, it's the rear tire, not the front tire. And you're
Yep.
like, oh gosh, I can go home again.
Yep. sometimes I'll throw a couple tubes in the truck and my tire irons just as insurance.
Yeah.
That, you know, if I've got them, I won't have to use them. So
Uh, personally, my friend, he's able to do that. Just I don't know, he has a trick sitting next to his fan and he gets that tire done. I help him holding the tire in place, but if I have to do it alone, I'm not going to do it. I have a sort of device at home where I put that tire on, then I'm able to do it with a lot of pushing and pulling
yeah.
and etc. But yeah, it's not really my hobby, I would say. It's,
I spent enough time working in motorcycle shops that changing tires is like I quite enjoy doing it. I
okay,
don't do
that's
it
good.
very often anymore, but yeah, I've probably changed hundreds of tires in my life, and so
Okay. So you're pretty fluent with it.
yeah,
That's
and
nice.
yeah, and I used to lace wheels as well, lace and true wheels, and so
Okay.
I'm getting a lot. I had a kind of a side hustle doing that through the mid 2000s, and
Yeah, not everybody can do that. Indeed, what you say. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I kind of learned on my own how to do that, and then it ended up funding a lot of my riding through the mid 2000s. Was made a
Okay.
lot of
Yeah. Why not? I mean, people. Not a lot of people can do that. Indeed. So that's nice that you can do that.